back for another book talk. Today we are talking about this one. So this is, in my own words, an introduction to my teachings and philosophy by, again, you guessed it, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. So the title pretty much says it all. This book goes over his particular philosophies, his beliefs. Obviously, if you don't know who the Dalai Lama is, he is the Buddhist kind of, I haven't quite figured out exactly how you would describe it, because like outsiders kind of describe it differently and whatever, but basically he's kind of the leader of Tibetan Buddhism. And a little part of me worries because he's been doing a lot of like healing rituals and stuff on Facebook. There's a lot of that going on, and he just had surgery. He's also kind of old. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So at least for right now, he's the current one. I just have this like little worry of like, he's getting pretty old now. So we might, in my lifetime, get to see the, I think it'd be what, the 15th Dalai Lama? Because I think he's the 14th. Anyways, this book talks about his philosophies. So for this book, I gave it a 4 out of 5 star. I was kind of torn between a 3 and a 4 because like, again, some of the things it's just like, I love certain parts of Buddhism, but also like, I'm not a Buddhist. Like, there's just a lot of things that I'm like, okay, that, like, it's polar opposites in some ways to witchcraft. There is a lot of overlap, but there are certain things that, like, we just don't do. Like, for witches, we typically don't, like, there was, like, a whole chapter on, like, meditating and, like, really processing, like, your own death. And, like, we don't do that a whole lot. Like, we do, like, a smidge. Sometimes, like, it's getting to be that time of the year where we consider it, but, like, not, I don't think, to their level as Tibetan Buddhists. And which is, we also are really big into, like, at least a lot of us, for beliefs of, like, what you think about manifests. And so, like, you don't necessarily want to think about your own death a lot and, like, summon that sooner than need be, you know? And so, you know, there's just certain things where it was like, that is at opposite ends with witchcraft. But there's other ones that are like right on top of it, like, yep, it's the same point of like trying not to harm things. And, you know, the typically Buddhist philosophy is like try and eat a vegetarian, if not completely vegan diet. And like, you know, witchcraft sometimes does that, sometimes doesn't. And, you know, also like, again, how you view harm done kind of gets a little different. But overall, like, as someone who's just intrigued by Buddhist philosophy, it's a good book. It gives you a good reference point to learn about. It did at some points feel a little like, oh, I should know stuff, but I don't know stuff. Because like, again, it mentions different things that aren't, like, the background context isn't always given. And so you're like, I feel like I should know things, but I don't. So there's a little bit of that, but I feel like if you have very well researched into Buddhism and specifically Tibetan Buddhism, you'll know these things, but also it does explain stuff. Again, from his point of view, people do things a little differently. Again, Buddhism has various branches, and so it talks about like the 4 Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, and like his take on those, and goes into detail for each one, which I really like. And of course, his take on like meditation and the importance of it and all of that stuff. And of course, he's very big into forgiveness and kindness and all of that. So I mean, overall, like, it's a decent book, especially if you are curious about like his take on things. But as a witch, like, I don't know. I'm curious if other witches read this, like how it intersects with your things. Like how much of it is going to be like, yeah, and how much of it's like, meh, you know? It's kind of interesting to read about different things and see, like, because sometimes Buddhism is placed as a philosophy rather than a religion, so it kind of can fit in with a lot of other religious beliefs, because a lot of it doesn't have to be, like, you can believe in, like, Christianity or Judaism and also follow a Buddhist philosophy, right? Same with witchcraft. So it fits very nicely, but there's just certain points where you're like, that's squishy. How are we gonna make that? finagle. So anyways, I would love to know your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. As always, a huge thank you to my patrons. If you would like to support me and get access to exclusive content, on Tuesdays I post other book talks just for my patrons. Currently have got a lot of Norse books that I'm going through because all of them came in at once, so I've got a lot of those to go through. And then on Thursdays I post my audiobook, so you can hear about like my book that I wrote. Both of them have their audiobooks going up, and the first one is actually just still there. So if you want to listen to The Death Journey, it's just there. I'm just working on the other two still. And then on Saturdays is when I post about my own practice, trying to get through STOW by the end of the year. So yeah, it's coming up. I gotta get back on that. Kind of took a break. This was a really hard year to do that. I feel like that book was just destined to make it a hard year, so we're just getting through it and it'll be fine. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an upload from me. I try and post every single day, and until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.